Hi, I'm Joan London. If you're looking for senior care for your mom or dad like I was, call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. Their local advisors will explain your options and help you select senior living communities at no cost to you.
To speak with a local senior living advisory, call A Place for Mom at 800-211-4992. That's 800-211-4992.
There's a place for answers, a place for Mom.
Hi, this is Dr. Ned Hallowell, and welcome to the podcast Distraction, the podcast for all of us who are living in this hyper-distracted modern world. Well, today is a special show. Not that all of our shows aren't special, but this one is special to me because our guest is none other than my lovely wife of 28 years. Sue Hallowell. Sue is a social worker, a therapist. She's also runs my office in New York City. Even though we live in Arlington, she flies down to New York every week to take care of things. She's also the mother of our 3 children who are now 27, 24, and 21. She was the chair of the board of Shady Hill School in Cambridge for 4 years. She is a woman of many talents, a first-class gym rat. I don't think a day goes by where she doesn't go to the gym. And even though she is a member of the age 60 club, she looks like she's 30 and has the energy as if she's 20. So without further ado, let me introduce my wife, Sue.
Thank you, Ned. That's really nice.
Welcome to our podcast.
Thank you. It's very exciting to be here.
So I assume listeners would like to know, what is it like to be married to someone who has ADD, namely me?
Well, it is a very exciting roller coaster of a ride. You know, you are a pretty special guy with ADHD. You know, you are different from a lot of people in that you have been extremely successful in your life so that we don't have to deal with some of the big issues that some people with ADHD have. But it certainly impacts our life every day. There are about 1,000 ideas that come and go every day, and keeping track of them is sometimes a challenge.
Yes, we do. I'm always peppering Sue with new ideas, and we got to do this, we got to do that, we got to do this. And she acts as sort of my brakes, you know, or my model for ADD, race car brain with bicycle brakes. And Sue, you act as my brakes, and you do it very tactfully because you don't want to be what I call a dream breaker. You don't want to be Debbie Downer. You don't want to be the wet blanket.
As I get accused many times.
When I want to go out and buy a swimming pool and she says no. And I say, oh, you're such a downer, you know, even though we have no place to put a swimming pool.
That's
and
right.
We can't really afford a swimming pool.
That's right.
And the upkeep would be crazy.
That's right.
When I say I want to buy a swimming pool, I you know, when Sue says no, I say, oh, you're such a downer. But we ADD folks do need someone to help us put on the brakes. But
on the other hand, I will say sometimes I've learned over the years to go with some of them. You know, it really is about knowing when to apply the brakes, because sometimes my first thought about saying no is really the wrong thing, because I think that you bring a lot of excitement and spontaneity to things that I, in my more cautious, structured way, might not allow to happen sometimes. So I think it works both ways. You know, I think you allow me to have more excitement, more spontaneity, and I think I help you apply the brakes when you need to. So it's
sort of, we balance each other. I provide the crazy creative energy, say, and you provide the structure, sanity. But when I say it like that, it makes it sound as if you're boring, and you're anything but boring. You're very interesting. Sue reads at least a book a week, and I'm lucky if I read a book a year. And in fact, Sue often says, "How do you know anything? You read so little." But and you're very active intellectually, and so it's not as if you are not a creative person. You're a very creative person.
Yeah. I am a creative person. And I think that I've probably become more structured in our marriage because I've sort of had to, right?
Yes.
Because
all of our kids have ADD
all
too.
of our kids have ADD too.
And our dog has ADD.
And our dog has ADD.
Or Jack Russell.
But I think, when you have these ideas, one of the things that I know is that sometimes you have the great ideas, but you're not always able to, then you sort of leave the steps to me.
Yes.
You have the ideas and you have the process in mind, but then I sort of am the one who makes it happen.
Right. Like getting us out the door.
Like getting you out the door. The other thing that I have, that's been an interesting thing to figure out in our marriage is I'm someone who really likes to sit down and talk with people for a very long time and have, if it were up to me, we'd have long family dinners. We'd have, long conversations where we talked about our lives and ideas in the world. And that doesn't work so well with you.
Well, my favorite illustration is when we go out to dinner. Both Sue and I love food. We're foodies. Sue is an incredible cook. And I'm not a bad cook.
You're a great cook. And in fact, you're a great baker, which is surprising with the ADD. It's, I guess, when you hyper-focus.
That's when I can be meticulous.
That's
exactly.
right. That's right.
So we go out to, now that our kids have all left home, we go out for dinner fairly often. And the classic scene comes. You see, we have this wonderful dinner, wonderful conversation, and then the end of the meal arrives. Now, what do I want to do? I want to wave down the waiter, get the check, and leave. Sue wants to linger over the last sip of wine in her glass or have a cup of coffee or just linger and make conversation. I feel the dinner is done. Let's move on.
Well, but it starts even before then. We sit down, and Ned has usually looked at the menu before we get there so that he can order within 20 seconds, which makes all of us crazy.
I know, but you want to read the menu like it's a bleeping book. Well, what about this one or what about that one? And then you bring the waiter over. Now, which would you prefer here? Is this good? Like the waiter's going to say, no, this sucks. But yes, you're right. I want to make a decision right away. Have the meal and leave.
And I want to sit and talk.
And linger, exactly.
And it's been a challenge to figure out how do we make that work. And I have figured out there are some things that I can do to have longer conversations with you.
What?
So I've actually found that if we're in bed with the TV on, but it's a show that neither of us are riveted to. It's interesting, but we have some of our best conversations there.
That's true. Or driving.
Or driving in the car. That's a great one. We're able to, there's something about when you're doing something else at the same time you're talking to me.
Right.
It works in a really different way.
Right.
We always have a little bit when we're at the restaurant. I try to make you not face out to everybody because I find that if you face more a blank wall, I have more chance of paying attention, getting your attention, than if I let you look out. And I try to make you put that damn phone away. People, he's sitting here talking about distraction. He is number one guilty person.
When it comes to
your cell phone, mister.
The iPhone, yes.
So I try to make him put it away. And at family dinners, I've had to learn that with our kids, because as Ned said, everybody has ADD in our family. And again, I grew up with the notion that you have these nice long family dinners where everybody talks about their day. Ned and I both agree strongly that family dinner is important, and we've done everything we can to make that happen through the years. Only my family dinners would last 30 to 45 minutes. The kids and him, 10, maybe 15 if we're lucky. So, but we've gotten good at trying to, make it happen in the 10 or 15 minutes.
We do pack a lot into those 10 or 15 minutes. And don't forget the lead up. We're usually hanging around in the kitchen and we string it out a little bit longer. But.
Well, yes, and I'm always trying to find topics that would interest everybody.
You'll bring up, Sue will say, well, so what interesting thing did you do today? And we all go, oh, come on, Mom.
So then I'll say, so what about those Packers? And they're like, so what do you know really about the Packers that we can have an intelligent conversation about? But it's fun.
So what would you say, for listeners, what advice would you have? I mean, what have we done right? My wife hates to give compliments to herself, but what would you say we've done right?
Well, I think that there are a couple things. One is we are persistent. I'll never forget, we have these very good friends.
Priscilla Vale
and her husband Donald.
They're both in heaven now.
Yes, they are, but they were amazing human beings. And they one time told the story of being at dinner with a group of friends. And they were together, probably married 200 years.
All the gathered at the table, yeah.
And so they went around
200 years of combined marriage.
Combined marriage, yes. And so they went around the room and sort of were talking about what has made us last.
Right.
And everybody had the normal answers: humor, respect, love, the normal sex, the normal things. And Donald, Priscilla's husband, went last. And he says, I think it's a predetermination to stay married.
An abiding determination to stay married.
Yes, thank you for the exact quote. Yes, that's exactly what it was. And, I do think that's it, because we certainly have days when we, hate each other, and days when we
hate each other. But yes.
There are days when I hate you.
Really? I don't.
But it's only because I feel so passionate. I love you so much. I think only in great relationships do you have that. And I think it's important for people to know, because I think that people are sometimes too quick to be surprised by either boring feelings or negative feelings.
Right.
And I think that both are part of a marriage, as long as you're able to know that, the great feelings or the good feelings or the safe feelings are much more. I always like to talk about an ATM, right? You've got the deposits and the withdrawals. Marriage is like that. And you've got to make sure that the deposits are way higher than the withdrawals.
Right.
But you've got to know they're going to be both.
Right.
So that's one thing. I think that we both have a huge commitment to staying married and to our family and finding a way to make it work. The other thing I think is we really do try to get outside the box and come up with solutions that work. I can give another example of, I am someone who really loves parties and going to events, and Ned not so much. And I mean, if it's with good friends or, someplace, a small number of people, he loves it. But if it's a party or people maybe he doesn't know so well, his preference would be to say no. And that's what happened a lot in our marriage, is he would say no and I would go by myself, or we would have big fights about it. And finally we came up with a solution that I think works really well, in that he'll agree to say yes more, but we always take 2 cars wherever we go. And then Ned doesn't have that ADD feeling of being trapped.
Right.
And he can leave whenever he wants.
Right.
And I can stay however long I want.
Right.
And it's really made a big difference. And what I've actually noticed is, because you now have that choice, you often end up staying almost as long as places as I do.
Not as long as you do. You will be the last to leave for sure.
Well, at least
yes,
longer.
Yes.
Than you did.
I stay longer than I used to. Now you are. You can't leave a place without talking to every single person.
Well, that's not true.
It's totally true. You're the best connector I've ever met. You're an amazing drawer out of people. It's and you love doing it.
Yeah.
I do too. I'm more of an introvert. You're really more of an extrovert.
Right. And I think that I think we're good at coming back to each other after fights. We have our fights, we have our things, but we're always trying to come back and repair whatever happened. And we really work hard to try to understand each other's perspective as much as we can, even though it sometimes doesn't.
Plus, we like to have fun.
Yes, we do like to have fun.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about all this repair and conflict.
Well, you asked me what...
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, I think what we've done right is we like to have fun. I think there's a lot of fun in the Hallowell household and craziness involving
someone
the
kids
would say. And we love our friends. We have
great friends. We've been very lucky in that.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of time spent with friends and football has been a great connector, because we're all football fans. Specifically about ADD, it's funny, we almost never talk about ADD.
You mean with each other?
Yeah.
In terms of our relationship?
Yeah, it was just we've found ways of, it's not like we talk about how are you going to manage ADD. It's a little more of how do we manage each other.
Well, that's right. That's right. I certainly have things that need to be managed too. It's not all you.
Not managed, but, lived with or whatever. I mean, no, you're the goodest person I know. So I honestly can't think of anything that has to be managed.
Oh, Ned, that's ridiculous. You're just saying that because you're on the air.
No,
that is silly. I can get very, disappointed if things don't go according to my plan. I like things organized in a way.
You are organized.
You know that I'm always telling you guys what you can't do, that you don't like.
That's true.
Please don't act like I'm some...
Well, you are pretty amazingly good, Sue. So I know you think that means boring, but it doesn't mean boring. You're just a wonderfully. I mean, everyone would say that, Sue, not just me. You're a wonderfully pleasant person to be with.
Anyway, if you want to know what are your ADD symptoms that because I think a lot of people who have followed your work or who know you find it hard to believe that you have ADHD, because you've been so successful. But I do think that you have really found a lot of just ways to manage it, because I can say it's very hard. You can be very distractible. It is hard to have a sustained conversation with you, which is why we have...
We're doing pretty well right now, wouldn't you say?
We are. That's because you're on the radio, and we all know that ADDers do well with focused attention. And I think that you can be forgetful, and it's interesting. You always are trying to remind yourself of things. I do think you have a lot of ideas, and you find there's sometimes trouble with you following through with them and trying to make sure you don't take on so many things and then can't.
Well, that's why I need helpers. That's why I have so many helpers. I mean, even this podcast, there's no way in the world this podcast ever would have happened had they not come to me. I mean, because they produce it. I mean,
well, that's right.
And I could no more have produced this than fly to the moon.
That's right.
So I really depend upon getting the right kind of help.
You really need that. And I think that that's one mistake a lot of people with ADHD make, is they feel like they need to do it on their own, and they don't get the adequate help that they need.
Right.
You also can be very impulsive in your speech and in what you do and in spending money. But, you really have found a lot of strategies. I bought Lucy a new kitchen stool this morning. Oh, great.
That's our daughter. She needed it.
I'm sure she did.
Well, I always say the key to success in life with ADD, probably the key to success in life, period, is marry the right person and find the right job. So I certainly married the right person.
As did I.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for being on this podcast. It's really nice to have you.
It's so much fun. I know Tucker was on.
Yes.
Our youngest son was on.
Yes,
so we're really making this a family affair.
And we'll have to have you on again.
That sounds great. Thanks, Ned, for letting me come in and share this with you.
Thank you, Sue. I love you very much.
Love you too.
This is Dr. Ned Hallowell for Distraction, saying goodbye for now. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions, please call us at 844-55-CONNECT or email us at connect@distractionpodcast.com or go to our website at distractionpodcast.com. To hear more full-length and mini episodes, please subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. And thanks for listening. Distraction is produced by Collisions, the podcast division of CRN International. Collisions podcast for curious people. And our music theme was created by Mark Berman.
Attention all authors. Page Publishing is looking for authors. Have you written a book and want to get it published? Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, Apple iTunes, and other outlets. They handle all aspects of the publishing process for you. Printing, cover art, publicity, copyright, and editing. Call 800-292-8137 now for your free author submission kit. That's 800-292-8137 for your free author submission kit. Again, that's 800-292-8137.